Hi guys, it's Claire. Welcome back. So I realized that we are now several days into 2018 and that I've already done videos for my best fiction and nonfiction reads of 2017, but this past year was the best reading year of my life thus far, and so I wanted to take a moment to kind of look back on my reading year as a whole, especially because I only started booktube last August and I didn't have a chance to talk about a lot of the books that I read this year. So I wanted to take a quick moment to give a nod to each and every book that I read this year, and I thought the best way to do that would be some good old high school yearbook style superlatives. So let's get started. Favorite new author, that would have to go to Elena Ferrante. This year I read her Neapolitan novels, The Days of Abandonment, The Lost Daughter, and The Frontamalia. Favorite new poet, although he doesn't have much competition, Pablo Neruda, The Captain's Verses. Best writing, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Best opening paragraph, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Best book cover would have to go to The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. Most important book, although all books are important, would have to be We Were 8 Years in Power by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Most original goes to The Idiot by Elif Batuman. The most pleasant surprise was Middlemarch by George Eliot, a new favorite. Best setting goes to Idaho by Emily Ruskovich. Best audiobook narration goes to The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, narrated by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Best journalism goes to Love Thy Neighbor, A Story of War by Peter Moss. The best books to become a better citizen goes to Evicted by Matthew Desmond, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge. Best book about nature is Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. Best books about California goes to The White Album and Where I Was From by California Queen Joan Didion. The best book about another book goes to So We Read On, How the Great Gatsby Came to Be and Why It Endures by Maureen Corrigan. The most forgettable book about another book goes to My Life in Middlemarch by Rebecca Mead. The book with the best single essay goes to The Book of My Lives by Alexander Heyman for the essay My Prisoner. Funniest book goes to We Are Never Meeting in Real Life by Samantha Irby. The most fun read goes to Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay. The snarkiest book I read this year was Unmentionable by Therese O'Neill. And the best beach read of the year was Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, which I quite literally read on the beach. The coziest read was The Year of Living Danishly by Helen Russell. The creepiest read was Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. The most reminiscent of home was The Granite Pale by Lorene Niedecker, and the best books to listen to while road tripping were Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck and The Long Haul by Finn Murphy. The best book for younger readers that's also great for adults was Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. The best advice came from Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. The best non-love story was Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. The most heartwarming love story was Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. The eeriest love story was The Lake by Banana Yoshimoto. The most raw was Hunger by Roxane Gay. The most kick-ass was Shrill by Lindy West. The most inscrutable was The Vegetarian by Han Kang. The books that made me cry the most were Tin Man by Sarah Winman, Blue Nights by Joan Didion, and Human Acts by Han Kang. The biggest tearjerker that didn't actually make me cry was When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, and the best books to read as a pair were The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante and Ties by Domenico Starnone, two books with strikingly similar plots. The best celebrity writing was Postcards from the Edge by Carrie Fisher. Most adaptable for the big screen was The Mothers by Britt Bennett and Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Two books that I didn't particularly love but would definitely watch a TV show about. The book with the best TV adaptation was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. The most colorful book I read this year was Bluettes by Maggie Nelson. The saddest sack was Newland Archer from The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. The bleakest vision of the future came in American War by Omar El Akkad. The book with the most unwelcome revelations about what actually happened on the prairie was Pioneer Girl Perspectives Exploring Laura Ingalls Wilder. The most tedious read, I'm sorry to say, was Black Elk Speaks. The most uselessly informative was Barbarian Days by William Finnegan. I now know a lot about waves. The most unnecessary nonfiction read was probably White Trash by Nancy Eisenberg. The worst audiobook experience was SPQR by Mary Beard, simply because I didn't retain anything. The most agonizing final chapter was in Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell, mostly because it doesn't exist. The most forgettable reads of 2017 were Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith, The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Mohsin Hamid, and, I'm sorry to say, The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss. And the worst book I read in 2017, by a long shot, was Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I hope that you all had a wonderful 2017 and that 2018 is off to a great start. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!